That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, so let me start with your first headline today, which is you can tell things are getting desperate when the CAQ pays attention to Montreal. What are you going on about here?
Well, listen, you've already got, the big story for Montreal right now is the transit strike, or more importantly, the collection of transit strikes that are hovering over Montrealers, and the fact that, quite simply, the STM is one huge mess from top to bottom, from left to right, unions, management, you name it, it doesn't work. It didn't work when it was working, so this is where we are. So what do we have? We've got Jean Boulet, Quebec's labor minister, sort of like, and at first, I think even at the start of this week, Aaron, he says, no, I can't, I don't want to pull the trigger early on my labor law, which is supposed to go into effect at the end of the month, and this would give the government power, like the feds have, to sort of order unions back to work if it is perceived that the public is being too inconvenienced. I don't think it's a matter of health and safety, which is what the criteria are now with the labor tribunal. It would be if the public is just, if it's causing too much problems for the public, we will intervene and we'll go to binding arbitration, but the strike will end. And now all of a sudden he's saying, well, it could be an option. So I'm thinking that a CAQ minister is actually paying any attention whatsoever to Montreal in any way, shape, or form, suggests to me that things are really getting bad up in Quebec City. And indeed, they are getting bad. I think we're seeing a kind of a scramble towards trying to seize control of the reins of government, which Legault seems to have lost simply because of this another absolutely boneheaded law that he and his now very frightened caucus adopted under the use of closure. The other thing, of course, is the fact that Yann Duranceau, our brand spanking new Treasury Board president, Aaron, is saying that, I might take some of that green fund money. The fund there, we talked about that. There's billions in it, billions. And Legault had mused about using it perhaps to pay down some debts to keep the province, keep its head above water, because this money was supposed to be put aside for a greener tomorrow, Aaron. And it seems that not just in Quebec, but the growing political philosophy in this country is screw a greener tomorrow. We need cash today. So the money is going to be used now. And Madame Duranceau is suggesting today that this money, I think it's about $1.8 billion, would be directed at public transit. I wonder if that money could be used to settle demands and end a strike sooner rather than later. Who can tell? But it just seems that there is a series of pieces falling together, forming a picture of a government that really wants to, because it really Legault has always loved to wrap himself up as in the cloak of some savior. I mean, he wants to go back to the days of the pandemic, not literally, but the days when the government would look at Mon Oncle Francois and he's going to make everything okay. And I think he's trying to restart that. So hence billions of dollars falling out of the ceiling tiles now, perhaps to help with public transit, not just in Montreal, but certainly in Montreal. And you have the labor minister firing. It's a tiny little pop gun, but nevertheless, Aaron, the round is right across the bows of the STM and the STM's unions. That, maybe you all want to take a deep breath, sit down, start negotiating again, and stop screwing around the people of Montreal, because we are looking for things that will make us popular right now, and actually nailing you guys to the wall would be number one on the list of things that would improve our approval rating. So I think we're seeing a lot of stuff happening at once. It's a real-time story, lots of moving parts. I love stuff like this, Aaron. And let's face it, I think that the fun is only just starting. We still have two full days left for this story to unravel. Who knows? Maybe we might even see a settlement by the end of the week.
I'm picking November 13th when Soraya's sworn in. That'd be the day to end the strike, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, we'll talk about her in a second, but I got to tell you, this whole thing of the strike has proven to be something of a godsend, I think, for the CAQ government, and it may well prove to be the same for our brand new mayor, Aaron, because I have to tell you, I did a double take when she said, basically, I want this thing settled by November 15th.
Yeah.
This is the same mayor who said, well, earlier this week, I don't really have any authority here. You're basically like a crown corporation. You administer yourselves. I think, this can go two ways, obviously. either the thing is not settled by November 15th, and Soraya Martinez Serrata is perceived as someone who likes to shoot her mouth off and doesn't really know what's going around. Or B, it is, and I think that's the more likely case. I think she knows exactly what's going on. The things I've just mentioned to you, I'm not a genius, as our listeners, I'm sure, text you on a regular basis, but I'm not a genius, but I think she understands. What I understand, she understands. She can see which way the wind is blowing. Now, if it turns out there's money around, if it turns out that there is, how can I put it, a certain amount of desperation towards a settlement, and towards all of this problem going away, let her turn around. If she gets it by November 15th, guess what? She called this, and she has earned, she wins this one, Aaron. She wins this bet. She'll have earned more cred in like the first 10 days of her mandate than Valérie Plante did in the first 10 months. This is going to be a huge boost to the mayor's cred, to the idea. And once again, I think she campaigned on that, and I think she's made it clear. We'll forget about les grands projets. Right now, I'm the damage control mayor. I'm trying to keep the ship from sinking. And I think if she pulls this off, that's going to be an incredible feather in her hat. And it's going to be very, very difficult, I think, for people to turn around, even when the honeymoon is over, to turn around and say, well, no, I don't like this person. She's going to, if she pulls this off, and I got to tell you, I've got no skin in this game. I don't live in Montreal, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a gutsy move in an age where politicians in generally have a shortage of guts. So we'll see what happens.
By the way, imagine doing that in your first week as the mayor, right? And you could pull that off. I mean, you're right. It would be remarkable.
But this is it. You're saying imagine. Buddy, it's not imaginary. She has thrown down.
Yeah.
She said she's sitting across the table from those guys going all in, okay? November 15th. We'll see what happens. And it's going to be very, very interesting. But as I say on the show, and as someone who's been known to place a wager every now and then, Aaron, the trick to gambling is keeping the actual gambling to a minimum, to reduce the risk and to make sure that when you finally are making that bet, that the odds really are in your favor. And I think she's done that.
Let me go back to something you started with. I want to get your take on this. So we heard today from Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon in the wake of Isabelle Poulet, right? The CAQ, the CAQ politician who was about to quit and called a press conference and was shuffled into a meeting with the premier where she was, dismissed because you can't quit if I'm going to fire you. And then PSPP says, by the way, there are other CAQists who have approached our party about doing exactly the same thing. And I thought to myself, wait a sec. Number one, typically, you don't break that kind of confidence. And if you do, you do it for a reason. So what's going on here?
Well, I think you're 100% right. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I think perhaps the timing, though, is a bit suspect in terms of Mr. Plamondon's, people are coming to the PQ because let's face it, this right now, Aaron, up until now, this story has not involved the PQ whatsoever. This story has involved Legault, a disgruntled CAQ caucus, and perhaps the Liberals, who, in fact, Pablo Rodriguez was, in fact, interviewed about Madame Poulet yesterday and said, she spoke to, she didn't speak to me, but she spoke to our people. We weren't interested, and that's on the record. So all of a sudden, there's a suggestion that, well, if a CAQ MNA is going to jump in time for the next election, they're going to head to the Liberals. So, and I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying that the comment from Monsieur Plamondon today, as far as I'm concerned, falls very neatly for the PQ as still being a viable force. And let's face it, in the past few days, and perhaps even the past 10 days, the PQ, which up until now has been perceived usually as a government in waiting, which up until now is usually a sounding board, we'll need to get the reaction of the PQ on A, B, and C. They have not been in this game at all. This has been Francois Legault's panic room where he's running around like the proverbial chicken. And you've got the Liberals apparently being dragged in as a kind of, as a guest star in the episode of this horror story. But the PQ have been out of it. So all of a sudden they're back in. He says, well, it happens. And I'm not disputing it. I want to make that very, very clear. I just think the timing of this is very convenient for the PQ. It makes them a part of the story, at least for now. Let's see how much of that gets picked up on, and let's see how many people start going back to the CAQ caucus, saying, "Listen, anybody rumble the PQ out there?" and trying to check and see if it actually happened. Because who knows what's going on? All I know is you still have about 80 people who aren't sure of their future, 80 MNAs who aren't sure of their future as provincial politicians who, whether we like it or not, remain in charge of everything. So there you go. What could possibly go wrong, Aaron?
Jim, let me ask you a final question, because this will be my question. I started with this today, and I'm going to come back to it. This idea, in this case, we have a Conservative MP, Chris D'Entremont, who's decided, you know what, I like the budget that Liberals introduced, so much so that I'm going to go ahead now, cross the floor, and become a Liberal and leave the Conservatives behind. Now, as I said when I first asked the question, this has happened before. But in this particular case, with a minority government, with a budget about to be passed, what do you make of this? And what do you make of the rumors that there will be others who may do the same thing?
Oh, listen, after the election, you and I were having the conversation about how the Liberals were actively courting members of the Conservative caucus to cross the floor. It looks like they got one bite. They may have more coming down the pike, but the only thing is, Mark Carney, who is a pragmatist, is also going to have, if you cross the floor, you're going to have some kind of a beautiful tiara-like, parting gift on the part of your new party, because they're not just going to come across the floor. They'll be looked at as being opportunistic, blah, 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 blah. If you're going to be looking at opportunistic, you at least want an opportunity. You want some payoff for it. Right. So will it be a cabinet position? And it also depends who walks and for why. But listen, the real story here is it's not about Monsieur D'Entremont. It's the leadership of Pierre Poilievre. And I think we're seeing that bubbling to the surface. And I don't think it's going to go away. And let's face it, we're a lot closer to that January review now than we've ever been before. And all of this is falling at a very, very bad time for the Conservative leaders. So I think the real guy who's going to be losing sleep tonight isn't Chris D'Entremont. It's Pierre Poilievre.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.